Hi there again everybody, Jack here at the Vinyl Voyage. So in my last video, albums that had changed my life, I was kind of conscious that there was no female artists in amongst those albums. There was no female fronted bands, no female singers. And I think that's because back then when I was a teenager, I was into The Who, The Jam, The Happy Mondays, The Stone Roses. These were albums made by men for men. However, that all changed about 10 years ago when I realised that I was missing out on so much great music, so many fantastic bands that were fronted by women. So this video here isn't my 10 favourite female-fronted rock albums. Instead, it's just really a mixture of albums that I really like, from rock, from folk rock, from new wave, bit of psych, bit of shoegaze, bit of indie, but everything here is fronted by women. And if it was my favourite female fronted band, that would be far too easy. It would of course be the Shags with their unsurpassable philosophy of the world, and the video would be finished already. So starting off then with a bona fide classic, this is Fairport Convention with Legion Leaf from 1969 on Island Records. So this is the Fairport Convention's third album and featured those amazing vocals from frontwoman Sandy Denny. So this is British folk rock at its absolute finest. Sandy Denny had already sang with the Strawbs, her own band Fotheringay, then she went on to have her own successful solo career. So Legion Leaf was produced by the legendary producer Joe Boyd, and it's a mixture of traditional folk songs and the Fairport Convention's own original compositions. There's Sandy there in the middle on the cover. I think a lot of folk purists at the time didn't like it because it introduced electric guitars as well as traditional instruments like fiddle and mandolin. Yeah, I absolutely love it. It's such a great album. It might actually be my favourite British folk album. Some really great songs on here. Matty Groves is brilliant. Come All Ye, the first track, is excellent as well. Yeah, really good. It's got that medley on side too. Yeah, as much as all the music on there is great, the thing that really makes it soar is Sandy Denny's vocals. If you've not heard Sandy Denny before, or you don't think you have, she's probably most famously noted for, outside of her own band Fotheringay and obviously Fairport Convention, she's the only guest vocalist to ever appear on a Led Zeppelin album. She appears on Led Zeppelin 4, singing that amazing duet, The Battle of Evermore, with Robert Plant. Next up then is a band out of New York. This is AOB Sexu, and this is their album Citrus from 2006 on One Little Indian Records. So this is like kind of dreamy shoegaze, bit of neo-psych, pop. It's absolutely fantastic stuff. So AOB Sexu, they were originally known as, or their original band name was Sportsfuck, and then they changed the name to AOB Sexu. And AOB Sexu is Japanese for play sex. And the reason why they've got a bit of Japanese, or they've got that Japanese influence, is this is their singer on this amazing front cover. Her name's Yuki. I'm not even going to try and pronounce her second name, but she's Japanese American, and she's kind of the main driving force behind AOB Sexu, along with guitar player James Hanna. What a great album cover. Yeah, really nice. That's her again there. Well, I said, this is kind of got elements of neo-psych, dream pop, shoegaze, but what really sets it apart, I think, is Yuki's mixture of, some of the songs are sang solely in Japanese, some of them in English. Yeah, it's just amazing, dreamy vocals. And like a lot of shoegaze, it's got that kind of heavy layer of guitars on the bottom, or kind of underpinning everything. And then you've got Yuki's lovely vocals and lovely keyboard, giving it that kind of dreamy, melodic overtones. Yeah, they're just really upbeat. This isn't like, when I say shoegaze, it's not like My Bloody Valentine or Slow Dive or something like that. It's really upbeat, it's really catchy. I really, really like this. There's some great songs on here. Strawberries is a brilliant song. Thursday's really good. The last song, Mizu Azobi, is really cool as well. And I love those songs that she sings in Japanese. I think it's something quite unique. But yeah, I won this album in a vinyl raffle, and I had no idea what it was going to be like, but it was a very, very, very pleasant surprise. So this is By the Way. This is the third album by the German prog band from Hamburg in Germany, Frumpy. This album here is from 1972. So I think it's on Vertigo Records. This isn't a first press, I think it was only ever pressed in Germany. I think this is a second press on that Vertigo swirl. So Frumpy were led by amazing German female vocalist Inga Rumpf. That's her on the front, doing her best Robert Plant impression. And if you didn't know, you could be mistaken for actually thinking that she was Robert Plant. She sounds really, really like Robert Plant. Like I said, this is their third album, and it's not quite as keyboard driven as the first two. It's a little less proggy, I think, than the first two. This is more guitar driven. So this is a blues rock feel, a country rock feel at times. Some really, really great songs on here. So that opening track, Going to the Country, has got some brilliant pedal steel guitar, some slide guitar on there. As a really kind of driving country rock song. Singing songs. This third track on the first side, it's more of an acoustic number. It's got kind of beautifully layered acoustic guitar in there. And then opening up side two, I'm Afraid Big Moon. That's got some really funky drumming, some great, great Hammond organ. And that second side, I think, is a little bit heavier, but there's some really great guitar workouts on here as well. But again, it's Inga Rumpf that steals the show. She's an absolutely fantastic rock vocalist, really, really powerful. She puts loads and loads of energy into her performances, and this is a really great album. If you've not heard Frumpy and you like kind of blues rock or prog rock more for the earlier two albums, then you've got to check this out. It's really, really good. So back to New York and The Cake. This is their debut album from 1967 on Decca Records. I absolutely love 1960s girl groups, and this is probably my favourite of the whole lot. So The Cake were made up of Barbara Morello, Jeanette Jacobs, and Eleanor Burshian. And they were three teenage girls out of New York, and they were spotted in a nightclub by two A&R men who spotted them singing along to records after they'd been to watch the 1960s band, the Daily Flash, a bit of a cult 60s garage band. And as soon as they heard the girls, I think they whisked them away to Hollywood and got them straight into the studio. And this is what they produced their debut album. But what an album it is. It's really, really good. Unlike a lot of other girl groups from the 1960s, the one thing that set The Cake apart a little bit was that they also wrote their own songs. They did do a lot of cover versions, but this album here is a mixture of their own tracks and cover versions by other artists or songwriters. There's some absolutely fantastic stuff on here. So the open track, Baby That's Me, that's a Jack Nietzsche and Jackie DeShannon cover version. It's really, really good. The second song, World of Dreams, is by Malcolm Rebennack, otherwise known as Dr. John, and Dr. John's all over this. He plays pretty much every instrument you could imagine. He's on piano, he's on organ. It was produced by Harold Batista. So with Dr. John on here and production of the great Harold Batista, it's also got like a really kind of heavy R&B, almost like Louisiana feel to it as well. As well as being, that classic girl group sound. Some of the other players on here, you've got like a load of the Wrecking Crew are playing on here. You've got Carol Kay playing guitar instead of bass. Who else is on here? Don Peake from the Wrecking Crew as well. From strings, you've got Darryl Terlinger, and he played violin on Love's Forever Changes, or viola. Yeah, some great songs. Stand By Me, some standards. The great Benny King song, What Did I Say, is the last song on the album. Great Ray Charles song. But then some of their own as well. Medieval Love, Firefly, Rainbow Wood. Those songs have got like a kind of psych / baroque feel, which is quite unusual for that kind of 1960s girl group sound. But yeah, they are just a brilliant, brilliant band. I really, really like The Cake. I'd love to get the following up album as well. because I absolutely love this. So staying in the UK then, this is Dead with Blue Skies. This is their fourth studio album from 2022 on Fat Possum Records, and it's kind of indie music that draws on 60s girl group influences. It's got those kind of Ronette style drum beats, draws upon surf rock, but also 80s rock as well. It's got a bit of an 80s rock sound. And they've got a female vocalist in Emily Kempf. She's got a very, very unique style of singing. She does a lot of yelps and hollers and yells, and it's really quite unusual, but really, really good. It's very, very powerful voice. She doesn't sing all the songs. She shares vocal duties, but a great, great singer. I was surprised that this album didn't propel them to a bigger audience because, like I said, it is very upbeat, it's very, very catchy, it's easy to get into, and I thought that this might have broke them into the mainstream, but they still seem to be quite, not I wouldn't say underground, but they're not like a household name or anything. But if you fancy something a bit different, really, really good indie rock from a female fronted band, then check out Dead. Highly recommended. So now to Wales, and this is Weekend with La Variété from 1982. It was released on Rough Trade Records, and this is really cool, kind of indie pop, but it's really indie pop with a twist. It draws upon so many different influences. So I think it's got a really French pop sound. It also draws upon samba, Afrobeat, jazz, bossa nova. It throws everything in there. And as much as you've got all those different influences within the music, you've got the cool, laid back, almost twee vocal stylings of Alison Staton, previously the vocalist for Welsh indie pop pioneers Young Marble Giants. But on this album, I think she really, really comes into her own. There's some really, really great songs on here. So side one, track one, The End of the Affair, has got that most beautiful French sounding acoustic guitar lead that runs through the song. But then by the time you get to the end of side two, you've got A Life in the Day Of, part one, which almost sounds like Vampire Weekend styled Afrobeat. That stretches across onto side two, A Day in the Life of part two. But yeah, really, really nice, really, really tasteful, laid back indie music, but it just doesn't sound like anything else with the saxophones, the trombones, that bossa nova feel at 1 minute, the next minute it's like French pop, next minute it sounds African. It's just really unusual. They never released another album, but they've been cited by so many bands as a massive inspiration. Belle and Sebastian were big fans, as were Broadcast, were big fans as well. But yeah, I got the 12-inch of, which song was it? I think it was End of the Affair. I got the 12-inch. As soon as I heard the 12-inch, I hunted down the album. So another New York 60s girl group. This is the Shangri-Las with their second album, 65, released in 1965. So Shangri-Las, if you're not aware, they were made up of two sets of sisters, Mary and Betty Weiss, and Mary Ann Ganzer and Marge Ganzer. The main singer was Mary Weiss. Unfortunately, she passed away in January of this year. But again, like the Ronettes, they're kind of quintessential 60s girl group, but the Shangri-Las had like a kind of tough, cool persona that went along with the songs. They were out of Queens in New York. They had some big, big songs. Like I said, this is their second album, but some of their bigger songs, remember Walking in the Sand, I think it's from the first album, or maybe it was just a single, Leader of the Pack, Give Him a Great Big Kiss. None of these are on here. Some of the big songs on this one, Sophisticated Boom Boom, is really good. Heaven Only Knows. And that last song, The Boy. What I think's funny with songs like The Boy is when they go into these like kind of melodramatic spoken word bits. And the songs, they always revolve around like doomed relationships with bad boys and how they were going to run away from their parents and start a teenage relationship with some bad boy on a motorcycle. They're kind of funny, the lyrics, and like I said, very over dramatic, melodramatic, but they're just, I don't know, they just sound really, really cool as well. So that's Shangri-Las 65. This is Wet Leg. This is their debut from 2022 on Domino Records. So Wet Leg, if you've not heard of them, they're a four-piece from the Isle of Wight in the UK, and they're fronted by two females. That's Hester Teasdale on vocals, she plays guitar, piano as well, and Hester Chambers. If you've not heard of Wet Leg, they're kind of a band that exploded via social media, predominantly from two singles. The first one, Chaise Lounge, and then they released, was it Wet Dream? But very, very idiosyncratic sound. Some elements of psych, some elements of surf. They pinch lots of lyrics and allude to popular culture a lot. So in the big single Chaise Lounge, it's got that classic line, would you like us to assign someone to butter your muffin, which they'd stolen from the Lindsay Lohan movie Mean Girls. And then in other songs they're citing indie movies like Buffalo 66. But yeah, they're really, really cool, I think. I loved this debut album. Some great, great songs, like I said, really funny lyrics. Yeah, it would be interesting to see what they come up with for album number 2, because this was a big, big hit, but can they keep it going again? I took my daughter to see Harry Styles at Murrayfield in Edinburgh. Honestly, it wasn't me that was going. I was going to take my daughter there, but Wet Leg were the support, and I was really disappointed. I thought they actually had a very weak sound, and I wasn't sure if they're ready for those kind of big stadium gigs yet. I'd like to have heard them in a smaller venue. But in terms of the album, I think the album's brilliant, and really looking forward to seeing what they produce on album number 2. And finally, in good conscience, I couldn't do a video of some of my favourite female-fronted bands without showing this band. Really the pioneers for me, Blondie with the amazing Debbie Harry at the front. This is Parallel Lines, their third album. And those first 3 albums for me are all just absolute tour de forces. I love Debbie Harry. I probably like the first 2 albums more, but she's like the kind of quintessential female frontwoman. I know there's a lot of other great frontwomen out there, but Debbie Harry's the coolest for me. She's the coolest. She's got the best voice, and yeah, it's just completely iconic. So there we go, some of my favourite female-fronted rock bands, 60s girl groups, indie bands with great female singers, and some great folk rock bands as well, the amazing Sandy Denny. What could be better than that? If you've got some of your own recommendations, some female-fronted bands to check out, I'd love to hear about them. Stick them in the comments. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to follow me for more videos, subscribe. I'd love that too. So until the next time, see you later.